Joining me today on the Oblivion Bar podcast are the creative team of the new Minor Threats 4-issue anthology, or at least the first issue of that anthology, Welcome to Twilight. One is the Eisner and Harvey Award winning writer behind titles like Adventureman, ODY-C, November, Sex Criminals, all over at Image Comics. You may also know his Marvel work with extended runs on the Invincible Iron Man, Mighty Thor, Hawkeye, the Immortal Iron Fist, and the 2011 event, Fear Itself. He was also one of the co-creators and writers of the recent Monsterverse television series Monarch, Legacy of Monsters over at Apple TV+, and he is the upcoming writer of the new Batman #1 with artist Jorge Jimenez over at DC Comics. The other is an Eisner-winning creator behind titles like iZombie, Superman Space Age, Batman Dark Age, and the creator of the fan favorite Madman. He is also one part of one of my personal favorite comic runs of all time, the 2014 to 2017 run on Silver Surfer with writer Dan Slott. It is my pleasure to welcome both Matt Fraction and Michael Allred onto the Oblivion Bar podcast.
Hey, everybody.
You guys can't see Mike right now, but he is basically laying on his stomach and doing, it was like gymnastics. What was that there, Mike? An aerobics, perhaps?
Stunt work.
Stunt work, yeah.
Intensive stunt work.
Also, the ambiance here is insane. All three of us have very particular, I think,
nobody
Matt
gets to see this.
Well, I am going to split some of this up into like reels and possibly even put it on YouTube, if that's okay with you two. But Matt, you and I, we have a similar aesthetic here. We've got just a bunch of literature behind us, but Mike, my gosh, man, you have an incredible ambiance. Yeah, you got a little bit of literature back there. Yeah, actually everywhere, but
and
the ambiance
and props and
right.
It's great.
It looks like
oh, it's the best.
The 70s disco floor is perfect. I love it so much. It's chef's kiss. Wow.
And hey, and the Space Ghost shirt. Rest in peace, George. It was a bummer this morning.
Oh, what happened this morning?
George died. The voice of Space Ghost from Space Ghost Coast to Coast passed away.
No kidding. Holy crap.
But it gave me a good excuse to watch some of my favorite Space Ghost Coast to Coast this morning, little clips and episodes. And following the ant for 10 minutes is, I'm going to follow this ant, kill him. I'm going to find out where he lives, and I'm going to kill his family. And then he follows the ant for 10 minutes bent over, and then giant ants come out, and he runs away. He goes, "Your son's a loser!" And he runs.
That voice is so synonymous with, and I'm going to show my age here a little bit, is so synonymous with my childhood, sort of growing up during that age of Cartoon Network, where those were often in syndication, those old, I guess the newer Space Ghost, Coast to Coast, and all that. So, wow, what a loss. And, I'm going to very terribly transition from that and go into my first question here, which, very icebreaker-esque type of question. It's actually for both of you as well. And Mr. Allred, I'm going to start with you. What's it like being the second most talented comic creator in your home?
Laura is my not so secret weapon, and it's choice. It's the best of all worlds.
Yeah.
And everything, all of my motivation is to make her happy, and because she's given me everything, our offspring, and yeah, it's I'm so grateful to have her talent back me up.
Yeah, and obviously this is our first time meeting, but just in all the conversations that I've heard, through podcast or written interviews, what have you, you never miss an opportunity to shout out Laura. So 100%. Matt, how about you? Being, of course, again, the second most talented person in your home as well. What's that like?
I would probably put it at third or fourth, actually, but it's humbling. It's humbling. It's nice to have goals and ambitions, and always keep reaching.
Yeah, they keep you grounded, right? They make sure that you always have something to strive for, and I can appreciate that.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, obviously that is a huge joke. Although I do think they're all very talented. You both are also bona fide giants in the medium, and I'm so happy to have you here on the Oblivion Bar. And I think the main reason why you're here today, outside of, the obvious, is to talk about Welcome to Twilight, which is the first issue in a brand new anthology in the Minor Threats universe from writers Patton Oswalt, Jordan Blum, and Scott Hepburn. Other creators in this Welcome to Twilight anthology include Brian Michael Bendis, Sue Lee, Gail Simone, Gene Ha, Jerry Dugan, Mark Torres. And this first issue from you two fine gentlemen centers around Benjamin Brockowitz, a washed-up bird-winged actor who was never a superhero, but he once played one on television, and that was also a long time ago. And just as he's about to fade into obscurity and sort of give up on his normal life, someone pops into his life and reminds him that life is worth living. So after reading that first issue here, I got an advanced look. Thankfully, shout out to Dark Horse for that. And while preparing for this conversation, I was burning on how to ask this question in more of a romantic way, and I just couldn't find it. So I'm just going to put it bluntly. And Matt, I'm going to start with you here. How did you get in touch with the Minor Threats team? How did they pitch this idea to get you guys, both you and Michael, on board? And when did Brock become that tangible idea that you guys were going to focus on in this first issue?
They got in touch with me, but with the offer of like, you and Mike want to do an issue, and they had me at Mike, right? So that was just right. You know, I mean, I think Minor Threats is terrific, and I really enjoyed it. And I don't know that I would have said yes if it wasn't Mike. Just there's always that fear and feeling of like, oh, it's always a privilege to wreck one of your favorite things. But I would never ever turn down an opportunity to work with Mike again. So that was kind of it right away. And it happened right as I left Monarch. So I was sort of like had been in the world of TV and then suddenly was not. I was like, oh God, what am I going to do with myself? And so like immediately had a thing to do, which was great. And the idea had been kicking around in my head for a little while. It's just something about the idea of a guy with giant wings that didn't work because he didn't have bone mass of a bird or muscle mass of a bird. He was a 230-pound man with giant wings on his back. They were just kind of props, you know? And it's sort of something about, there's a little bit of it in Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen where I had the idea of Hawkman on a Segway, and it just made me laugh. Like that was how he had to get around, like on a Segway or like in a pickup truck where because like, how can you lay down? He has to sleep in a bathtub and can't roll over because you crush yourself. You can't sleep with anyone because you could smother them. You know, it just all this kind of idea of a guy with wings that didn't really work had been around for a while, and Hawkman on a Segway was this kind of the start of it, and sort of then the idea of like, well, this would kind of fit in that Minor Threats world, but what would their superhero? What is a superhero movie like in a world full of superheroes? And on, and then it just kind of came together. And I have a certain fondness for old police shows, like old cop shows for the 70s and the 80s, and it all just kind of, you know, the idea of someone that can't tell the difference between a detective and a guy who played a detective on TV, and I don't know, it all just kind of, there it was, you know. I said yes. I was like, oh shit, what have I done? I got to figure something out, and had like one idea. I can't remember what it was now, but I sort of like just pitched it as a sentence, and they're like, oh, that's kind of like a similar thing. And like, okay, I should pull out. I don't have anything. And then just there it was, like the whole thing, the whole story just fell into my lap. And knowing that I was writing for Mike made it easy.
Yeah, seems like a pretty easy decision, right? When you have Michael Allred attached to it as well.
Yeah, that was the easiest decision. Yeah.
Well, Michael, I'm going to pitch it over to you here. So so was it Dark Horse? Was it the Minor Threats team? Was it Matt? Who came to you in order to knock out this first issue of Welcome to Twilight?
Well, Daniel Shaban has been my go-to guy at Dark Horse for quite a while now, and Daniel's awesome. Always brings fun ideas. There's always a door wide open for, there are things that he's just somebody that the answer is almost always yes. And so when he began to ask me of my interest in this project, it was yes. One of my all-time favorite projects I've ever worked on was FF. So many of my Marvel dreams came true because of Matt, and the opportunity to work with him again was a dream come true. And I've also been a huge fan of Patton Oswalt from day one. I remember when Janine Garofalo introduced him on a comedy special, and I've just always been impacted by everything he's done ever since. Anyway, but really, any of those three reasons would have been a yes for me. But truly, sincerely, working with Matt again is the be all end all.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong here. Is this the first time you guys have gotten back together since FF? And like, what was it, 2014? I think is when that final
Think
issue
so.
was.
I think so. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's incredible. And again, as you guys have both been singing the praises of that series, that second volume of FF. And I think if you were to poll, 10, pull list holders at your local comic shop right now, I would imagine that most of those folks would have good to great things to say about that series as well. I will say that, Matt, when you were talking a moment ago about sort of the inspiration of like older cop shows and sort of how this idea sort of percolated in your head, I was getting a little bit of like, and you could tell me if I'm way off base here, but I was getting a little bit of, Big Lebowski, I'm just here for the ride type of vibe to, this woman shouldn't be interested in me, but I'm not complaining type of vibe, akin to like The Hard Goodbye from Sin City, and maybe even like a little bit of like, I don't know, dark humor from like The Nice Guys. Am I way off base here with some of these?
Oh, I think more of a case, I was probably pulling from all the places those guys were pulling.
Oh, sure.
The same kind of thing of not really a cop, not really a detective. Why is this Damon to me? I mean, those are all kind of classic sort of setups. And the humor was just like so much of Minor Threats is that, and to be able to do something and to steer into the jokes and also that it was just a one shot, like, not a lot of time to be prosaic and ponderous and just sort of like, I suspect it was a case of parallel inspirations. I'm trying to remember if any like specific deliberate references or anything like that. I think it was just
that was my next question for you, was like, were there any particular, and I kind of hate that question, especially in these conversations.
Well, no, yeah. I mean, there was like I think it lasted one season. There's like a Jack Palance detective show called Bronk, which is where the name came from, or at least just the nickname. But him like changing it from Bronkowitz to Bronkman, that was probably a Kentucky Fried Movie. You know what I mean? Like just Bronkowitz is probably where that came from. I don't know that it was deliberate, but like now that I think but like the idea of changing it for equity was just that dumb shit, Yeah,
that name reminded me of you. I've been trying to figure out what that name at Kentucky Fried Movie.
Samuel L. Bronkowitz presents. Yeah, I think it was just. I think, And
I can almost hear like the little tone that Quentin Tarantino puts in front of his movies, like feature presentation, dun, 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 like that.
but there was the real inspiration. There was a real actor of a certain caliber of films with a manager, very much like Swifty and Bronk, that were notorious on the convention circuit through the 90s and the 2000s, and I had done shows with them both when I was working retailer and then as a kind of nascent creator, and just every time they were at a show, there were going to be 2 or 3 stories about the crazy stuff they got up to. So that was in my head of like, oh, I can do those stories here,
Michael, how about you in terms of like, and your style is so, Michael Allred piece when you see it. It doesn't matter what part of your career you're in. Were there any particular, inspirations for you while creating this, in terms of like tone and humor and all the things?
Well, I really tapped into the Miami Vice of things. The
Calderon.
Yeah,
that was a Miami Vice reference. That was the name of the guy who killed Tubbs' brother was Calderon.
Yeah. I love the whole Hollywood aspect of it too, and him having to have the his own tram car to drive around. And of course the segue, and but yeah, I love the whole coastal vibe in that, and then of course the surprise ending. I have an affinity for those creatures as well. And then there's the one main character, which I just laugh every time I hear Matt describe him. So I'm not even going to try, but I'm so thrilled that I got to put that on paper.
Now, real quick, because I know exactly who you're talking about here, Michael. Can I say it? I want to stay relatively spoiler-free because this first issue does come out on March 12th. So I want people to be able to read this and enjoy it.
Oh, it's not even out yet.
Right. Yeah. It'll actually be out the week.
Yeah. We have our copies, so I assumed it was in the stores.
No. Yeah. It's officially out the Wednesday of this conversation. So I don't want to spoil anything big. And of course, Matt has his physical copy there. Can I get permission here to say the person you're talking about here?
Please.
Okay.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. So we have Man-Face, right?
Man-Face.
He's
the man with the face of a man on his face.
It's perfect. It is like, I read that line and listen, I've been a fan of the medium for the majority of my life, and I find a lot of things pretty funny, but I'm one of those kind of people that like laughs inside, right? I legitimately chuckled to myself when I read the man with the face of a man on his face, right? Like that is just the funniest thing ever. And then you have, is it Manuel? Manuel is the
Manuel. Manuel. Yeah.
He's the little face on the.
Yeah. Big face. They're big face. Yeah. Sort of a Master Blaster relationship. If Master was a part of Blaster.
Right.
and Manuel just kind of like, yes, Manuel. Yes.
Oh, it kind of reminded me of the little Total Recall. What's the Quaid, open your mind.
Quado.
Yeah, Quado from Total Recall. A little bit of that.
Yeah.
I will say that, like,
I think some Young Frankenstein.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And of course, Michael, you know all about Frankenstein and Frank Sinatra. We'll talk a little bit about that here in just a bit. But I will say that the sort of the oddball love, not love triangle, I was going to say like the oddball friendship between Bronk and Swifty is really endearing because you can tell that they've been through it. And it's so well done based on just the dialogue alone. We only get about, 22 pages with these two, 26 pages with these two?
22, yeah.
And yeah, 22. And it's insane because you feel that love immediately between the two and how they definitely get on each other's nerves. No, undoubtedly.
Yeah, it's also completely mercenary.
Right. Yeah. And there's definitely, there is like a little bit of, I can't succeed unless you succeed. And I'm going to sort of drain you until I can't anymore a little bit. But we've all had people like that in our lives where you sort of accept them for who they are and you still love them for it. And I think you guys do that really well with these two characters in this first issue.
Thanks.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's also a treat. I mean, just bonus tapping into the rest of the universe. You know, we've got this little chunk that we're really proud of, but it echoes out, and I'm discovering. I mean, not just Patton's work, but everybody else that's involved in that whole Minor Threats universe. So it's the gift that keeps on giving.
100%. Yeah, and you know, when the Minor Threats universe first sort of kicked off, I know as a comic reader, I was a tad apprehensive because every once in a while, and I'm going to speak broadly here, every once in a while you get celebrities that want to come into comics and do a co-writing deal, and you're like, oh no, what are they, they're bored or...
It's the real deal, yeah.
Absolutely. Patton is the real deal. And we've had him on the show. We had both him and Jordan on the show to talk about that very first issue of Minor Threats back when it came out. And you could just tell when he talks about it. And Michael, just like you were saying earlier, and I'm assuming Matt as well, we're all giant fans of Patton and his work. I think specifically of like the joke about having a Green Lantern ring and demanding it at the White House because you really love that Green Lantern ring and you go and you need it. And it was so refreshing to hear him talk about this series and now the execution with not only the first two volumes, but the multiple spinoffs with the alternates, and then this, of course, and then the Brood, like Barfly. We also, I'm name dropping over here now, but we had Kyle Starks and Ryan Brown on the show as well to talk about Barfly. And my gosh, is this universe is just chock full of some of the best creators in the industry.
There was an Archie crossover, which I got to draw a lot of those characters, including Barfly, with Archie Comics characters running at each other. So it's been a blast. obviously we're crazy busy. There's always so many things on our plate, and it can be really difficult to, so saying yes can be hard. It can be a challenge, but I'm so grateful that we were able to squeeze this in, because it's such a kick.
Well, Matt, we're gonna sort of transition away from Welcome to Twilight, because again, that first issue comes out on March 12th, and I don't want to get into too many spoilers, because again, I think folks.
Yeah, we've said enough.
Yeah.
It's great.
And I've heard about Jerry's, and I can't wait to read Jerry's. And look, it's a murderer's row of folks. It'll all be great.
I will second that 100%. I heard you, Matt. I can't remember when I heard you talk about this, but you talked about how like certain comic writers, you'll read certain works and you sort of just vibe with their monologue and the way they write. And Brian is that for me. I think from a very early age, when I picked up Ultimate Spider-Man for the first time, I just knew immediately that BMB was going to be my guy going forward. And he has continued that trend into my 30s now. And Sue Lee, talk about an undiscovered genius in the medium. She is going to be huge. Everybody, if you're not tracking Sue Lee, again, good friend of the show, we've had her and Sweeney Boo on the show together. If you're not tracking Sue Lee and her work, get on it, because she is incredible, not only as an artist, but also as a writer as well. So keep those both on your radar. And Matt, I want to transition over to you really quick here. It's no secret, obviously, that you've been away from the medium for a while. You were talking about it a little bit earlier, and as we said in the intro, you were busy with the Legacy of Monster. You also you were a consultant on Hawkeye over on Disney Plus as well. Obviously, that took huge inspiration from yours and David's run from back in the day. But now you're back here with comics. And, of course, it was announced a few weeks ago that in September, you will be working with the annoyingly handsome Jorge Jimenez.
Handsome. He's like Mike Allred handsome.
It's like, seriously, it's not even fair that we have two you guys in this medium. One more and we'll just implode, I think. That's kind of the deal, I'm pretty sure. But, you guys will be the new creative team on Batman going forward. And this is my one and only annoying Batman question for the entire conversation. I'm just going to knock it out here. Along with this announcement, you guys have a new blue and gray suit. You've got a new Batmobile. Fresh and new is sort of the thrown around saying throughout this.
In as much as an 88-year-old character can be fresh and new, yes, absolutely. Right.
Yeah, exactly. So all that said, again, without any spoilers, I'm assuming you can't say anything anyway. This is sort of a big question, so I apologize. Are there any unchangeable staple qualities or challenges often faced that you believe are at the core of your Batman going into September?
Start with staple quality.
Yes.
Sorry.
Thank you, Michael. Yes, I appreciate the piggyback. Yes, staple qualities on that one.
Yeah. Yes.
Are you at liberty to say?
Sure, but I'm not gonna.
So what you're saying here?
I'm not interested in like throwing out. There's a reason the character is 90 years old or whatever. I'm not interested in getting rid of the stuff that makes Batman Batman.
Sure.
Like, it's absolutely, yeah. There's, Martha and Thomas Wayne aren't secretly alive or anything like that. That doesn't work.
It's not part of the new and fresh.
Batman's not going to bust out an Uzi and just start shooting people. That's not going to happen. There's core load bearing parts of the mythos that like shouldn't be meddled with, and it wouldn't be Batman. If I wanted to do that, I'd make something else up. But now the challenge is writing Batman. So yeah.
Can I press you a little bit? Just a
you can try.
Here. Is there one defining thing that you really love about Batman that you feel like you want to sort of articulate in non-specific ways in your run?
Oh, I want to articulate them all in specific ways. It's the coolest he's the coolest superhero, period, full stop. Then it's Batman 316 was the first comic I ever remember reading. And in fact,
going back to the bookcase.
Got it right there. I mean, like this is literally the book that brought me in. And I want to write a Batman comic that reminds everybody why Batman's the coolest. He's the coolest hero. He's got the coolest villains. He's got the coolest stuff. He's got the coolest sidekicks. He's got the coolest city, the coolest car. Like I'm very much interested in writing superhero Batman, fighting super crime against super criminals, and the blue and the gray says it more than anything. Any words I can, but like that's it. Like if you see it and you get it, like that's it. If you see it, you see the blue and the gray, and they're like, oh, it's the blue and the gray. That's exactly what I'm trying to do.
I love that.
And like people will love it or they'll hate it, I think, and we'll find out real fast, right? Like, but it's definitely, he's not been in the blue and the gray for a long time, so. But that's it. I want to build on everything that's come before, but make a book that's the best superhero there is, right?
Sure.
I think there's a reason why that character can sustain so many different takes and interpretations. Is really, you can do a lot with him.
He's the most flexible character in comics, in my opinion, right? Like he can live in so many different worlds.
Him and Plastic Man, yeah.
And Elongated Man, depending on where your mileage is. Right. And Michael, you're doing Batman right now too. You're with Mark Russell doing the Dark Age.
Yeah. That's a perfect example.
Right.
I finished it. I'm on. We're on Wonder Woman Golden Age now.
Stop. That is incredible. That we're doing the Trinity. I didn't know that you also were doing Wonder Woman. That's incredible.
Yeah, I mean we officially have a trilogy, but I'm kind of hoping we'll be able to do Justice League New Age after this. So
all right,
we'll see what happens.
I like that.
Mike, I would chop my left hand off to see you getting to do Flash, especially with Mark. Like you and Mark Russell doing a Flash thing, I would just eat with a spoon.
I'll talk with DC and see if amputating your hand will offer any kind of value.
I'm
toward...
a righty, so I think and I'm already like 7 scripts in on Batman, so I'm well ahead. I can recover.
And I hear that Jorge's pretty quick too, and he's incredible. Obviously, he's one of our our great young artists in the game today, and he's quick, which is insane. And
yeah, he's like Salvador LaRocca quick. And as somebody who did 8.5 years of Iron Man comics in 4.5 years with Salva, I'm intensely aware of a very handsome Spaniard chasing me down. Like,
isn't that's
Robert,
sort of the key, right?
Robert Patrick running,
all of the most savvy comic creators always find them a Spaniard to partner with at some point in their career, and they usually don't let them go. Like I think of like Tom King, he's got a couple under his belt. I'm trying to think of who else off the top of my head. There's Josh Williamson, of course. He had Daniel for a bit. Daniel Sampier has been sort of bouncing around. Tom Taylor, of course, he has this Bruno Redondo. Like you got to get one. Once you get one, you got to stick with them if you want a couple Eisners. I've heard. So
it took me like a solid, I don't know, 3 or 4 months after leaving Iron Man for my Salva sense to stop tingling. I just knew when he was going to need more pages. I was like, Salva needs pages. Oh, no, I'm done. I don't have to do it anymore. we had like the longest consecutive run of Iron Man. Like, yeah. Which is crazy.
I'm afraid I've misjudged how comfortable it would be laying on the floor for an hour.
This is the best posture that I've seen on the Oblivion Bar. And in Oblivion Bar history, I've never once had someone lay on their stomach as we talk to them. And honestly, I think I'm going to start requiring it. I think people are going to, if you want to come onto the show, you have to just sort of lay on your stomach and relax a little bit. Don't make it so serious, right? And it's funny. I want to go back a little bit. Matt, you were talking about how you would give your appendage to see Mike do a Flash with Mark Russell. Same, but with Green Lantern. Honestly, I would love the Flash as well. But if we're going to go somewhere next after Wonder Woman, which again we're probably talking a couple years in the future now, Green Lantern would be my selection if it means anything at all in this moment.
They're making a TV show, so that would probably make a little bit more sense than Flash in the moment. But you know what? However you and Mark want to get to it, Mike, I'm here for.
Absolutely.
The whole week.
I'll second that. Mike, I want to transition over to you here. So right before we hopped on the call here today, I got an email from Clover Press, and they said that the design of the Marvel art of Michael Allred had just finished. So I don't know if you're privy to sort of the pings they're putting out to all of us backers, but Design looks like it's almost done, which is really exciting. And when I tell you that when that was announced, when the Marvel art of Michael Allred was announced, I had to fight myself from not just backing it at the highest tier. And I think that was somewhere in the $300 or $400 range, which would have been so worth it. But I want to ask you here, what was that process like for you working with Clover and Kickstarter with this absolute tome of Allred goodness?
Well, Matt has a little something to do with it too. So
I heard he's got an introduction on the book.
Again, it's I'm covered with bruises from pinching myself. I still feel like a newbie. I still feel like I'm trying to fight my way into the industry, and then I rarely look back. And then with this, where to be asked, I was thinking, well, do I have enough stuff to fill a book? And then they throw it at me, and it's kind of crazy to revisit all this stuff and then to write out the pathway, and like the first work I think I ever did was for a Marvel calendar. And so to just go back and look at that and remember what that was like, and revisiting, or maybe not revisiting, but visiting my progress to really look at how all the different things I've tried to do to grow over the years, and finding these are my favorite pieces, and these are and this is why. It's been kind of weird to kind of look at this history. I'm usually more inspired by finding new work to energize me and be inspired by, and to look back at my stuff. There's some cringy stuff where like, oh, I wish I'd done that differently. I wish I'd used a brush instead of a pen on that. Weird little things like that. But all in all, it's really humbling and exciting to just see this stuff laid out in this way, and to be declared worthy of such a tome. It's a treat.
That's awesome. Yeah. And, like you sort of teased it there a moment ago, Matt, you actually gave a introduction along with Dan Slott for the book, which is really nice. And I will say that at the time of this recording, and I think it's officially done, but I think it's worth saying that the project was backed by over 1,000 people, and it had a goal of 10,000, and it eventually reached a grand total of 165,000. So I know, and you, Michael, you of course are very humble about all this, and it's admirable, but gosh, that is an incredible feat.
Mike, I need to borrow $90,000.
Yeah, well, Matt has said some of the kindest things that any other human being has ever said about me in my life, and it's truly meaningful. And when you feel that you've impacted people that have impacted you in such, monumental ways, it just makes life feel extra special. And it makes me want to, it energizes me and makes me want to just make more cool stuff. And for me, that's really what it's all about, that something exists today that didn't exist yesterday. And I love this club we all belong to, this comic book world. I just love it so much. And my entire career, I've been told, it's dying. You don't want to be a part of this industry. It's dying. And I'm so grateful that it continues on, in very heroic real world ways. And we need that. So I'm just thrilled to be a part of it, and big fan of my origin story is, my earliest memory is waking up in a hospital bed covered with comic books because my brother had knocked me off a table and gave me a concussion. And I wouldn't even know what a comic book is if it wasn't for my brother Lee. But like seeing that first book that Matt ever read, and then my brother being able to tell me the comics that were blanketed on me and finding them and another, my brain can just like a ping pong ball, but people have given me, like at comic book shows, showed up and given me comic books that I owned as a child because I wrote my name on the cover in ballpoint pen.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that's happened 3 times, and so you kids out there in ballpoint pen, write your names on your comic books.
I recently just invested in an embosser, like one of those like press embossers, and
oh, nice.
Yeah, I've got roughly 1,300 trades behind me here. I'm a dirty trade wetter. I apologize, everybody. I know it's not super cool or anything, but I'm so excited to eventually go through all of these and emboss them in some way, just so that people know down the road, whenever I'm dead and gone and someone picks up, sex criminals from my collection, or, Michael, yours and Dan's Silver Surfer run in my collection, they'll know that I at one point owned that, right? I think that's,
wow.
There's something really special about that.
Yeah, I've never cared about the whole mint copy thing. For me, I want my comics well read. Mm-hmm. But that's what the collections are for, right? So where you have you have something classy to put on your shelf, but also doesn't damage as easily when you read it. But yeah, I love. There used to be an award that you might remember this, Matt, but it was I think it was a Wizard. It was, the trophy was of a kid reading a comic book, and another comic book was curled up in his back pocket.
Right.
Yeah, Laura got one of those.
She did, yeah. I think
I've won at least one major award of each of the awards, but Laura's just far left me in the dust as far as quantity.
Matt, you had something you want to say there a moment ago?
Oh, like with so many books being printed on demand now, like I like that books have birthdays now. Yeah. Like if like it'll tell you this was printed in Troutdale, Oregon on, February 28th, 2025. Like I like the book birthdays. I've like, for all the shifting uncertainty and weirdness in the world and the book market right now, I like some of the things I like about print on demand books is like, oh, this book has a birthday. I really like that. I like knowing when a book's birthday is. We
recently had, not recently, it was about 6 months ago, we had Brian K. Vaughan on the show to discuss the return of Saga, and he said something that was really powerful to me, because I've dabbled in the graded comic here or there when it's something really means a lot to me, but he mentioned like comics are meant to be rolled up and put in your back pocket, and Michael, you saying that there about the Wizard trophy, just like it reinvigorated that memory of him saying that, and it's so true, right? Like this medium, we cherish it in a different way, other than, and I'm not saying that people who collect comics are wrong for how they collect comics, but because this medium has a lot of different facets, but I feel like at like their basic function, they should be rolled up and put in your back pocket and to be read later, right? Like that makes so much sense to me.
And traded, that was always big.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would never do the thing where they seal them forever in that thick plastic. But anybody that wants to do that, do it. I would never take away what somebody enjoys, but that's not my thing. I read my comics till they fall apart. And that's when, and if it's something that really means something to me, then I seek out the collection.
I feel like this is such a great spot for us to sort of close, but before we close out the show, and I sort of prompted you both before we started this conversation, I'm so grateful again for you guys both to be here. And I was so grateful that I wanted to premiere a brand new segment here on the Oblivion Bar. We've been doing this for about 5 years in April. And this little fun game sort of sprung into my brain. And I thought you two, both Michael Allred and Matt Fraction, you guys would be perfect for this. And this right here, we're going to, again, premiering this brand new segment called Hey Kids, It's True or False Time. And that name is pending. Not a great name. We'll get to it. We'll rename that eventually.
We'll tighten it up and rewrite.
Well, yeah, I need to get a focus group together and have them, redo that name there. But for everyone at home, and both for you, Michael and Matt here, this is a speed round true or false question game. That these are facts that are catered to both of you. And the kicker to this is that there's really only 2 rules. You have to answer as quickly as possible, and you can only answer true or false. And there is a prize involved here. If either of you get 7 questions or more right during your speed round, I will donate our entire month's Oblivion Bar Patreon money to the Hero Initiative. And the Hero Initiative will be linked in the show notes as well for everybody. In case you're not familiar with the Hero Initiative, you should if you're not. So, Matt, if you're confident in me springing this random segment on you, I think I'm going to actually start with you if that's okay.
Okay. All right.
All right. Here we go. Let me get my music started here.
Like, what's the time? And you know what? We're just going to figure it out.
We're just going to go. We're going to get it going here. All right, here we go.
All right.
At the time of this recording, the Amazing Spider-Man Legacy number is 962. True.
True.
That is true. David Aja is 41 years old.
False.
He is 47 years old, correct. The Joker, Hugo Strange, and Catwoman all show up as antagonists in Batman #1 back in March of 1940. That is true. Let's see here. The state capital of Maine is Augusta.
False.
It is. That's actually true. David Lynch directed 7 films.
False.
Correct. He directed 10 films. Selena
That's
Gomez.
arguable.
Yeah. We can debate it after the round.
Oh, nice. Black Lodge. I almost wore my Black Lodge shirt.
Selena Gomez is older than Cardi B, Matt.
True? Why is that
It's
kind
true.
of... Yeah, okay.
That is true. I know, it sounds weird, right? Okay, Kelly Sue DeConnick's first public work is 30 Days of Night, Elbin and Stella #1.
False, but true.
Oh, yeah, it is false. Technically, her first work is CSI Dominoes #5 from December of 2004.
No, but that's okay. Go ahead.
No? Okay, we'll come back to it. Marvel Comics was originally named Timely Comics.
Well, it was named that before, so true.
Okay.
There's
Yep,
also
we'll go with
Atlas Comics.
that. Yep. Patton Oswalt's middle name is Peter.
Oh, false.
That's true, actually. His middle name is
Okay.
Peter.
All right.
Jorge Jimenez is the sexiest man working in comics today.
False. Chip Zdarsky.
Oh my gosh, Matt, are you kidding me? That's my exact answer that I have here.
I know.
Wow.
I'm getting this right. That was my 7th, by the way. So
That was your 7th. Wow. Good job. All right. Good job. All right. 7 out of 10 there. That's incredible. So we will donate to the Hero Initiative. That's about $130 to the Hero Initiative going out in March.
No, I don't have to try as hard.
You don't have to try as
Yeah,
hard,
yeah.
but I would appreciate it if you did. And real quick, before we move on, you said Kelly Sue's first work was not actually CSI Dominoes #5?
I don't think she had. No. I mean, there was the thing. She actually did a text story before that. Might have been in this. I don't remember if that was in CSI, but like she had done journalism work. So her first comics work, but you said her first public work.
Published comic work.
And she had done her first comic. That's different. Yeah, even then those were text stories. I think even in Stella was the first comic she did, but she had done other things before that. And like I said, then there's a bunch of journalism stuff.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then there was some debate on David Lynch and his 7 films or 10 films, perhaps. Michael, you were saying some were debatable.
Well, some people don't consider Inland Empire a legit Lynch feature. And also he did a theatrical version of Twin Peaks, the pilot with its own ending. So you could technically say that was a whole other feature there too. But I'm an insane Lynch fan.
R.I.P. to the great. Yeah. Losing a lot of people here at the beginning of 2025. It's a bummer. Okay. Hard transition again. Terrible transition. Michael, are you ready for your speed round here?
Sure.
All right, here we go. Walt Disney sued the University of Oregon over copyright infringement because their mascot Puddles resembled Donald Duck too closely.
True, and they worked out a deal.
Yeah, well, it was false. They did work out a deal, capitalizing on their friendship with Disney cartoonist Mike Royer, and then Oregon athletic director Leo Harris met with Walt Disney and reached an informal handshake agreement. So we'll count that as a false. So, Love and Rockets #1 came out in 1981.
True.
That is true. The name of the live action
absolute touchstones.
Yeah, I've heard both of you love Love and Rockets, so I had to throw them.
And I have one of their self-published ones that they didn't even staple.
Oh
That
man, I
they-
missed it. That there was a year at San Diego where he found a box of them. Like Gilbert found a box and brought them, and I missed. I didn't. I was so mad that I didn't get a chance to get it.
And all three brothers signed most of mine.
Wow. All right, moving
Went
on
to
here.
Mario's wedding.
We have the name of the live-action iZombie theme song is called "Stop, I'm Already Dead."
True.
That is true. It's by Dead Boy and the Elephant Men. All right. So you are currently, that's 3 for 3 currently. Canonically, Don Greenwood is taller than Nightcrawler.
Say that again.
Canonically, Don Greenwood is taller than Kurt Vonnegut's Nightcrawler. Kurt Vonnegut, Jesus. Kurt's Nightcrawler. I said
True.
Vonnegut. True. That is true. Kurt is 5'9". Don Greenwood is 5'10". So you're 4 for 4. The Monkees' first Billboard hit was "Take a Giant Step."
False.
That is false. That was the B-side to 1966 hit "The Last Train to Clarksville." So we're 5 for 5. Sex Criminals consists of 69 issues in its complete run.
No, false.
We got some cheating here behind the scenes from Matt.
Huh? What? What do
All
you mean?
my eyes were closed.
Correct. False. It was 31 issues. There is a 69th issue that came out in 2020.
Good question.
Yep. All right. So we're 6 for 6 currently. Number 7 here, we have, was Jar Jar Binks directly and significantly involved in Emperor Palpatine's gaining power over the Empire?
Yes, true.
That is true. Junior Representative Binks was duped into presenting the Military Creation Act to Palpatine, which eventually led to the Clone Wars and the rise of the Galactic Empire.
Bastard.
Number 8, we have Frank Sinatra won an Oscar for his role as Private Angelo Mangione in the 1953
From
classic.
Here to Eternity, true.
That is true. Best Supporting Actor in 1954. Number 9 here. This is so right now we're 8 for 8. Number 9 here. Diet Coke was invented in 1982.
False.
That is true. It was invented in 1982. And number 10, Dupe has canonically had some type of sexual entanglement with Madonna.
True.
That is true. Brotherhood number 9 from 2002 says that they had some kind of entanglement. We don't know. So great job, both of you. So
Wait, why did I get the Selena Gomez question?
You didn't you?
Why? No, why? Why? I understood
know.
I know why Mike got all of Mike's questions. Like, why did I get Selena Gomez?
You also got a main question in there too. It was a I was just trying to.
Yeah, it was really random. Yeah, all right.
I thought you were a big Selena Gomez fan. Either Selena Gomez or Cardi B, one of the two, right?
Well, look, I celebrate both, but I just
You got the Cardi B question. He got the Monkees question. I think it's only fair.
You got the next question.
yeah, but Mike got the monkey. Mike, don't you have a monkey's tattoo?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah,
Your
yeah.
Monkees love is long documented, Mike. I have a Daft Punk tattoo right here on the front end, and then I have a Silver Surfer Mobius right here on this arm. So
Right on.
we carry our loves on our arms here. That's for sure.
That was my first tattoo, Silver Surfer.
Who's the artist on that one? Or
Jack
is
Kirby.
It inspired? Oh, it's Kirby. Okay.
Yes.
I got Dave Bowman as my Kirby from 2001, Space Odyssey Kirby. So Kubrick and Kirby.
Check
combined.
this out.
Kirby.
I got the Space Child,
Nice.
and I've got Alex from Clockwork Orange in Dave Bowman's helmet.
Oh my gosh.
Mike, did you get
speaking
to
of
see?
David Lynch? There's Dale Cooper, Agent Dale Cooper with Bedhead.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
nice. I just started watching Twin Peaks with Henry Leo. Just got to that
Nice.
episode. Yes.
Now, I don't have any Kubrick or David Lynch tattoos, but I will say, Matt, you recently posted on your Tumblr. You mentioned Vincent Van Gogh at one point, and I'm sort of spacing what the reference was, but my entire right arm is basically 3 Van Gogh paintings into one. It's Cafe Terrace of Night, Cypress Windows, and
Wow.
of course, Starry Night back there as well. So, man, we're wearing our love on us, everybody, and I love that. And I think that's probably a great stopping point for the conversation.
There's my Alex Toth Space Ghost.
Oh,
When Gary Owens did the voice.
Nice.
beautiful downtown Burbank.
Well, gentlemen, it was such a pleasure having you here on the Oblivion Bar podcast. Once again, that first issue of Welcome to Twilight premieres on March 12th. That'll be out the week that this episode releases. And before we go, all jokes aside, we were sort of ended there with the true or false questionnaire there as a joke. But you both are among 2 of my favorite comic creators. And when Dark Horse approached me to have you both here on the Oblivion Bar podcast to talk about Welcome to Twilight, I honestly would have paid them for the opportunity. So thank you both so much for coming on and talking to us.
Thank you.
Of course. And before I let you go, Michael, I'll start with you here. How can the listeners follow your work? Obviously, social media, whatever that you have.
I think it's Allred MD on everything. I don't interact that often, but I'm pretty sure I'm on Blue Sky and Threads and Twitter and Instagram as Allred MD. I don't have a Facebook page, but Laura does. But my big plea is for people to please go to the comic book store and ask their comic shop owner when my next thing is coming out. That's the best way to keep up on what I'm doing and keeping those comic shops alive.
Mm. Now, Matt, you are notoriously completely off social media, and I envy you. So how can folks follow your career going forward?
Go into your comic shop and asking. Adventureman with me and Terry Dodson and Rachel Dodson starts back up soon with a mini series called Family Tree. Welcome to Twilight 1 is out in a couple of weeks. And Batman is in September. Batman is going to promote itself. You don't really have to do anything about that. We got by a long time without social media. We can figure out how to do it again. Way better for your health. Well, at least mine. It's way better for my health.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah. Well, before I let you two gentlemen go, I have one more thing I want to share with you guys. I don't know if you guys saw, you probably don't keep up with all of this, so I'm just going to try to show it to you here. There was a recent leak of some Marvel concept art. Can you guys see that here? And in the concept art, it looks like, so this is supposed to be for Doomsday. And it looks like we have Wong, Star-Lord, Kate Bishop in the photo here. We have Stature in the background. It looks like maybe Wiccan and Speed, Kamala Khan, and then in the corner here, ever so slightly, if you blink, you miss them, we've got Dupe here in the corner. Isn't that incredible? Yeah, that's it's always weird to ask creators how they feel about their work being adapted into the MCU, because you guys are, and I will say it for you, you don't have to say if you don't want, terribly not involved with a lot of this stuff, and I hate it, and also not compensated correctly as well. So I thought this was really cool to have both of your guys' creations in one concept art, and I hope we get to eventually see it in live action someday.
Amen.
Well, all fairness, I didn't create Kate Bishop. It was Alan and Jimmy. But I appreciated I got to dance with her a little bit. But
sure, yeah. I think I'll say that like a lot of the more important parts may have came from your brain, but that's just me speaking here. So it's always cool when this stuff leaves your head and ends up on a screen somewhere. Sure.
Like it remains a weird thrill,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Dupe started as a doodle while I was on the phone at my first phone call, being asked to take over X-Force to bring on a whole new cast, and then Peter Milligan, my partner, he decided that Dupe would be the most powerful character in the Marvel universe,
as he should be.
So there's that, and we've been, with Deadpool 2, we had our whole X-Force thing in there and Zeitgeist in there, and it's fun. It's big fun.
Yeah.
And it's one, we do work in this subculture that, is almost like a cult, but it's really nice when you've done work, that, you meet somebody and you can say, hey, have you heard of iZombie? They're not going to have heard of the comic book, unfortunately, but they've probably seen the show on Netflix, And so it is nice to kind of pull people in that sneaky Hollywood way. Yeah, it's just an extra layer of fun for what we do.
Yeah. If it provides a little bit.
How much it's changed just in the last, 15 years, 20 years or whatever. I remember telling somebody at a party that I wrote comics. It was when I was writing Punisher, and they had never heard of Punisher, and they had never heard of Iron Fist or whatever. And then I wrote Spider-Man. There was a guy with Spider-Man, oh, Spider-Man. Okay, great. But now you could say, now, last time I was at a Target, there was an end cap full of superhero movies on DVD that I hadn't seen.
Wow.
Like an end cap, like 25, 30 superhero films I had not seen. I was like, if you could go back and tell 8th grade me, one day there's going to be a whole end cap of 30 movies of superhero films based on comics that you haven't seen yet. I would like, what? How was that even possible? I don't know which one of those I wouldn't believe more.
Yeah.
So.
And how we take it for granted. I mean, people are so hypercritical with the comic book films, yet you go back 10, 15 years and show them Red Hulk and Falcon on screen, they'd lose their minds.
Yes.
But now it's like, oh, we got to be all nitpicky about everything. But I pride myself on being a really good audience. I can take things in for what the creators intended or what the hard work that was put into it. Then, I largely enjoy almost everything on first impact. Then I can kind of go back and be a little hypercritical and whatnot. But I choose to enjoy things. And, Matt knows this. He worked with my all-time favorite actor. I mean, Kurt Russell has been in my life my entire life.
Yeah.
From Jungle Boy on Gilligan's Island on, and I just can't believe how awesome it is that Matt got to work with him. That's just so freaking cool.
It was, he had complimented me. Not to sound like I'm patting myself on the back, but he complimented me one time about writing for him.
Got you there, my brother.
Yeah, but he goes like, he complimented me on how I wrote for him. I was like, well, look, I don't want to make this weird, but you've been in my head since I was 8. So,
well, I think that's a good place to end on. And again, I thank you both so much for being here on the Oblivion Bar. And I hope at some point down the road, whether it be again together or separate, love to have you back here on the Oblivion Bar. But until then, thank you both so much, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
It was fun.